بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Today inshallah we are going to be talking about the day of Arafah. We have Sheikh Suheil Laher. May Allah reward you for giving us this khatira. Today is the 8th day of Dhul Hijjah Yawm Tarwiyah, and tomorrow inshallah is the day of Arafah, and we would like to hear from Hadithak inshallah some of the beautiful virtues of the day of Arafah.
Barakallahu feekum. So we know the day of Arafah, which will be tomorrow, inshallah, is the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah, and these first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, as we know, according to a hadith, are the best days in the world, the best days of the year. So this is the first virtue which I wanted to highlight. So the day of Arafah is one of these 10 best days, and that in itself is a virtue. Number two, so I have 4 points. This is number 2 of 4. This is the day, which is tomorrow, inshallah, when the pilgrims, the Hujjaj, will be standing on the plain of Arafah. And this is the central part of the Hajj, as the Prophet has said, Al-Hajju Arafah. It is this central part of the Hajj, and it is the climax of the Hajj. So after Dhuhr, the Hujjaj, they will pray Dhuhr and Asr at the beginning of the time of Dhuhr, and then they will stand or sit and make dua. This is the best time for dua, and they will probably ask Allah, most of them or all of them ask Allah for forgiveness. And we know that the reward of an accepted Hajj is that the sins of the Haji are forgiven. But this forgiveness of Allah on the day of Arafah is not only for the pilgrims. There is hadith narrated in Sahih Muslim. Sister Dalia, if I could ask you to read the Arabic of the hadith, please.
Sure, إن شاء الله. ما من يوم أكثر من أن يعتق من أن يعتق الله فيه عبدا من النار من يوم عرفة، وإنه لا يدنو ثم يباهي بهم الملائكة.
Thank you. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us that there is no day on which Allah frees more people from the fire of hell than on the day of Arafah. And Allah draws near and he boasts about the believers to the angels. And there's also another narration in which we are told that on this day, the day of Arafah, because of on this day, the devil, Shaitan, is very angry because he sees the mercy and forgiveness of Allah, from which many people are benefiting. So that was number 2. This is the day of forgiveness. Number 3, there is a verse of the Quran which was revealed on this day, according to many of the Mufassirin. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. This day have I perfected for you your religion and completed my favor on you and chosen for you Islam as a religion. So this, as I said, there are a number of narrations that this verse was revealed on the day of Arafah, which happened to be also on a Friday. And this year, again, we have the day of Arafah occurring on a Friday. There is a hadith or narration in reported by Bukhari and Muslim and others about an exchange between Umar ibn al-Khattab radhiallahu anhu and a Jewish man. So the Jewish man comes to Umar and he says that you Muslims have a verse in your book which, if it had been revealed to us, we would have taken that day as a day of celebration, a day of Eid. So Umar asked him, what is that verse? And he, the Jewish man, referred to this verse, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم. And Umar says that I know the day on which this verse was revealed. It was the day of Jumu'ah and also the day of Arafah. So it is already a day of celebration because it is Jumu'ah. And the day of Arafah also is a day of celebration. So that's in number 3. And number 4, it is highly recommended to fast the day of Arafah. And according to the various narrations in the Hadith, this fasting on this day is expected to lead to forgiveness of the sins of 2 years. The year which is just ending, because as you know, this month, Dhul Hijjah, is the last month of the Islamic calendar, and also the forgiveness of the sins of the coming year. So I'll just recap these 4 points. One, it is the day of Arafah is one of the 10 best days of of the year. Number 2, it is a day of forgiveness, not only for the pilgrims, but for people in general. Number 3, the verse of perfection of the religion and completion of Allah's favor. Surah 5, verse 3 was revealed on this day. And number 4, fasting on this day is a means of forgiveness.
Jazakumullah khairan. And maybe also that brings us to a very important point. We as Muslims, when we celebrate Eid, we do not just celebrate it. It is kind of like we celebrate it as a celebration of our worship previous to the days of Eid. So in the time remaining for us, which is the coming 24 hours, inshallah, until Eid, especially tomorrow, what other deeds besides fasting Hadrata can recommend to us, inshallah? Maybe not everybody can fast on the day of Arafah. What other ways can we prepare to to celebrate our Eid and feel that we, inshallah, deserve the celebration after worship.
Barakallahu feek. So as you know, for Eid al-Fitr, we fast 29 or 30 days before that. So there we really feel that we uh, have done something to earn the Eid. But for this Eid, there is no required, there's nothing special which is required before this Eid. So for this Eid, the uh, um, responsibility is left to us. So we mentioned the fasting on the day of Arafah, which inshallah will be tomorrow. So yes, definitely try to fast for those who are able. But even if you are not able to fast, there are still things you can do um, tomorrow and even uh, uh, for the rest of today, because don't forget, all of these first 10 days are deeds on which, days on which good deeds are especially valuable and earn more reward from Allah. So you can continue to do good deeds for the rest of today and continue doing them tomorrow. But there are, I will end off with just two uh, um, um, things which you can do, especially tomorrow, uh, whether you are fasting or not. The first thing, as we said, this is a day for a day of forgiveness, but um, um, we should basically show Allah that we are interested. We want forgiveness because, of course, even though many people are forgiven on this day, not everyone is forgiven. So we should make a lot of dua for forgiveness. Um, um, this can be throughout the day, but maybe especially after uh, Dhuhr up to Maghrib, which is the same time that the Hujjaj will be standing on the plain of Arafah. So dua for forgiveness and also dhikr. And according to hadith, the best dhikr for this day is to say La ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lah. La ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lah. This is according to the version of the hadith in the Muwatta of Imam Malik. Some other books of hadith um, have um, um, additional wording to add to this. La ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu, بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. So either this longer version or the shorter version, La ilaha illallahu wahdahu la sharika lahu, to recite this in abundance on the day of Arafah tomorrow is good. And along with the dhikr and dua, of course, this should not be just from the tongue, but you should do this with hope and fear. So on the hope side, I will just mention a couple of quick anecdotes. Someone saw Fudail ibn Iyad, rahimahullah, one of the pious people, on the day of Arafah, standing on the plain of Arafah, and he was crying like a mother who has lost her child. He was crying so much that he had difficulty even uttering the words of the dua. That is how afraid he was. of the punishment of Allah. And on the hope side, another anecdote, Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, rahimahullah, one of the tabi'in, he came on the afternoon of Arafah to Sufyan al-Thawri, Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, one of the scholars of Kufa, on the plain of Arafah, and he found Sufyan kneeling on the ground, probably making dua, doing dhikr and so on, and there were tears in his eyes. So Abdullah ibn Mubarak asked Sufyan that who is the worst of all of the people who are here? And Sufyan replied to him that the worst of all of the people here is someone who thinks that Allah will not forgive him. And finally, I will mention another hadith about the day of Arafah. إن هذا يوم من ملك فيه سمعه وبصره ولسانه غفر له. This is a day, the day of Arafah, on which whoever guards his hearing, his sight, and his tongue will be forgiven. So, especially if you are fasting tomorrow, even if you are not, according to this hadith, this is general. Make sure you lower your gaze. Don't look at anything haram. Don't listen to anything haram, like backbiting and so on. And make sure you don't say anything which will not be pleasing to Allah. And if you, inshallah, we do this and the other points, action points I mentioned, then inshallah we will be forgiven on this day, and then we will have good reason to celebrate Eid on the following day.
Inshallah, Jazakumullah khair. May Allah reward حضرتك يا رب for all these great points, fasting, dua, dhikr, and holding our tongue and our sight and our ears and all our body from anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbids, inshallah. And looking forward to acceptance in the day of Arafah. Allahumma ameen ya Rab, for all the good deeds, and inshallah a happy Eid for حضرتك and for all the Muslims ya Rab. Allahumma ameen.
And to you, to everyone.
Jazakumullah khair. So inshallah we can end here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.